What's going on, noobs? I am Rory, the Perpetual Noob, and welcome back to another exciting Hollow Knight boss discussion. This is the 27th video in a series where I'll be discussing each boss of Hollow Knight, where we can find them, how we can defeat them, and how does this boss fit into the world of Hollow Knight. Today, we'll be talking about the dancing vampire bug, Troupe Master Grimm. Troupe Master Grimm, henceforth referred to simply as Grimm, was added as part of the Grimm Troupe expansion, and is located in the large Troupe tent at the left edge of Dirtmouth. To access this boss, we need to do quite a bit. First, we need to get the Dream Nail from the resting grounds. Then, we need to go to the middle right of the Howling Cliffs, destroy a breakable wall. Further exploration will reveal the corpse of a large bug. Once we've struck the corpse with our Dream Nail, we can return to the previous room and will find a fire pit looking like device. This is the lantern that summons the Grimm Troupe. We must strike this fire pit with our nail several times and will be treated to a burst of red flames everywhere once we've struck it enough. Then we must return to Dirtmouth, and here on the left side we'll find a new addition to the quiet town. A couple tents, including a large one with 2 Grimm steeds standing guard outside. It is deep inside this large tent that we shall find Grimm. He speaks with us and gives us the Grimm Child, which is handled like a charm, and a quest to travel Hollow Nest and collect 3 flames to feed the Grimm Child. So we must equip the Grimm Child charm and go to the flame icons shown on the map. Essentially, we're doing a combination fetch/escort quest for the Grimm Child. At each flame in Hollow Nest, we'll have to defeat a Grimmkin novice. Once those 3 are defeated, we return to Grimm in the big tent in Dirtmouth, only to have Fancy Pants tell us to go back into Hollow Nest and collect 3 more flames from 3 more different locations. Once we've slain these Grimmkin masters, we return to the tent with the Grimm Child charm equipped, and our reward for scouring Hollow Nest for these flames is fighting Grimm himself. Thanks, Grimm. A couple notes about Grimm. His primary form of movement around the arena is teleportation. He teleports to somewhere in the arena, performs his attack, and teleports away to another spot in the arena. If Grimm teleports somewhere on the ground that puts him too close to us, he will skitter away from us on all 4s before commencing his attack. It is rare but possible that Grimm will begin a telegraph for one type of ground attack, skitter away, and change what attack he'll do. Grimm will open his cloak, sending 3 fire bats at us. The fire bats start at the level of our head and poorly track our movement. Grimm remains in place during this attack. Each fire bat's entrance is announced with a gout of flame reaching the top of the arena. The 3rd fire bat quickly follows the 2nd. If we get too close to Grimm, before he sends out all 3 fire bats, Grimm will teleport to another part of the arena and send one last fire bat. We cannot stop this particular fire bat. This means that it's possible for Grimm to send out only 1 fire bat. Grimm telegraphs this attack when he appears standing on the floor. He raises his arm behind and above his head for a moment before opening his cloak towards us. In about a quarter second, the first fire bat, and gout of flame, emerges. About half a second later, the 2nd fire bat emerges, and a quarter second later, the 3rd. His mid-attack evasion and subsequent fire bat is telegraphed the same way. Let's call this attack the Fire Bat's attack. Grimm will wrap himself in his cloak until he's pointy and dive towards us. Then he lands and follows up with a dash towards us using his arm wrapped in his cloak like a lance. Grimm tracks where we were near the start of the dive, and the dive can traverse the entire arena. The dash covers about 50% of the arena. Grimm telegraphs this attack when he appears high up in the arena. He takes some time to wrap his cloak around him like a screw. With a burst, he's off. Grimm lands low to the ground in a wide stance, his cloak settling around him. After about half a second, he launches forward, his pointy arm extended ahead of him. Let's call this attack the Dive-Dash attack. Grimm will dash across the arena with a large swipe directly before launching into the air with an uppercut. At the apex of the uppercut, he disappears and rains 5 fireballs on the arena. The dash covers about 20% of the arena and includes Grimm making a huge downward swipe with his arm and cloak. The uppercut continues in Grimm's original direction, taking him to the top of the arena. There he disappears in a burst of 5 fireballs that rain down on the arena in a set pattern. Grimm telegraphs this attack when he appears standing on the floor. With little warning, he raises his arm behind and above his head while drawing a leg back, like he's aghast at our poor decorum. He assumes this pose for less than half a second before starting his dash. One thing, he raised his arm like this, but instantly changes his arm to this. The dash is completed in only 1/4 of a second. Then Grimm stops and lowers into a wicked deep squat. He doesn't skip leg day. Before launching into the air in true Ryu form. Once he finishes the uppercut, the fireballs appear and rain down. Let's call this attack the Dash Uppercut attack. Grimm will send his cloak into the ground, causing large twisted cloak spikes to jut up from the floor. The spikes reach to the top of the arena, but there are large enough gaps between them to stay safe. The spikes are not dangerous until they are at their tallest, which is just before they're done forming. The spikes persist for about half a second. Grimm telegraphs this attack when he appears standing on the floor. He stands up straighter and turns his gaze skyward. His cloak billows up for a moment before stabbing into the ground. 1 frame later, the spikes begin forming on the floor. It takes about 3/4 of a second for the spikes to finish forming. Let's call this attack the Cloak Spikes attack. Grimm surrounds himself with his cloak and puffs out, looking like an angry pufferfish, and spews tiny fireballs all over the arena. This attack occurs when Grimm's health is at 75, 50, and 25%, or if we interrupt him when he's bowing at the start of the fight. This attack always occurs from the center of the arena. The fireballs travel in 5 general directions. Fireballs tend to come at us in sets of 2, resulting in essentially a jumping puzzle. Grimm will stay in this form for nearly 9 seconds. While he's a pufferfish, Grimm is immune to nail damage, but still takes damage from everything else. Grimm telegraphs this attack when he appears directly in the center of the arena. His cloak billows briefly before it instantly puffs up and Grimm shouts. Let's call this attack the Pufferfish attack. By the time the Grimm Troupe expansion was released, I had essentially everything Hollow Knight had to offer as far as combat was concerned. The Pure Nail, every empowered spell, every nail art and movement ability, maximum health, maximum charm notches, maximum soul vessels, and every charm. An interesting note about this, Grimm's health scales with our nail, so as we upgrade our nail, Grimm's health increases. The scaling is done in a way, though, that Grimm still requires fewer nail hits from the Pure Nail than if we had the old nail. Unlike the bosses of the Hidden Dreams expansion, Grimm is not built for such a powerful knight. I beat him on my second attempt, and I still didn't know his attacks very well. I did know that double jumping was a relatively safe response for almost every attack, if not horribly inefficient. Being overpowered and not knowing a boss's attacks is a formula for a messy fight. Probably one of the messiest first victories I'd had in a long time. Grimm's attacks come fairly quickly, and a lot of the telegraphs are short, so I got hit a lot. But Grimm had 9 hit points to get through, and there are some fantastic times to heal in this fight, especially during the Cloak Spikes attack. Even without charms, I could get at least 1 hit point back during that particular attack. Grimm is unique not only in design, seriously, what sort of bug is he in reference to, but also in his stagger. Most bosses, when they're staggered, fall over motionless for a short period of time. When Grimm is staggered, he disperses into a swarm of tiny Grimm children, that fly haphazardly around the arena for about 3.5 seconds. The swarm can't hurt us, but we can still hurt the one Grimm child with red eyes during this time, for a maximum of 50 damage, no matter how many times we hit them. Grimm's stagger is over when the swarm all collect and reform into Grimm. Movement is very important against Grimm. His attacks are varied. Some cover the arena horizontally, some cover angles and the floor, some cover the entire space. It's important to quickly recognize which attack is coming so we can move appropriately. To be fair, I didn't really do that in my first victory, but I did learn that I should from this fight. I might not be able to brute force my way through later fights. My charms for my first victory against Grimm were Grimm Child, Quick Focus, Thorns of Agony, Grub Song, and Quick Slash. Grimm Child is a required charm for this fight. We actually can't fight Grimm and continue the story of the Grimm Troupe expansion without it. However, Grimm Child doesn't help us in this fight either, so it's essentially 2 wasted charm notches. As I said earlier, this was not a clean fight. I got hit many times. Quick Focus allowed me to be really safe when healing and allowed me to heal multiple hit points at times when, without it, I could have only healed 1. Thorns of Agony is a charm I haven't used in a while. Back when I was getting hit constantly, it really helped. Dealing 2 times our nails damage is really good when I got hit as often as I did. One issue though is that Grimm moves so quickly that the thorns would sometimes miss him, so Thorns of Agony was not as useful as it could be. Grub Song helps keep my soul gauge full while I'm getting demolished by Grimm, which meant I could heal back a lot of the health I was losing. Quick Slash is a really strong charm, even after the speed reduction brought about by the Lifeblood update. However, due to the way Grimm moves, there aren't too many opportunities to use Quick Slash to great effect. I would have done better with a charm like Fragile/Unbreakable Strength. Spells are great against Grimm. Of course, Descending Dark is useful because it has invincibility frames, but I didn't find too many opportunities to use it for its maximum damage. During a pufferfish attack comes to mind, but there's a more damaging spell we can use during that. Speaking of which, Abyss Shriek is okay for this fight. If we want to be a bit hyper-aggressive, we can use Abyss Shriek while Grimm is executing a pufferfish attack. We'll take damage for it, but Grimm will take more. Since Grimm is taller than us, if we ever get next to him, like say during a Cloak Spikes attack, we can unleash Abyss Shriek against him then. Shade Soul is fantastic in this fight. We can use it before, during, with good positioning, and at the end of a Fire Bat's attack, during Cloak Spikes, and with more safety than Abyss Shriek during a pufferfish attack. To make our spells even better, equip Shaman Stone to improve our spell damage, and Spell Twister to reduce the cost of our spells. Continuing with spells, the charm Fluke Nest is a viable alternative to Shade Soul. Grimm stays in place during the Cloak Spikes and Fire Bat's attacks, so we can unleash the maximum power of Fluke Nest then. Grimm moves a lot, and isn't in any one place for too long, so if we want this fight to be over as fast as possible, it's important that we deal as much damage as possible in a short amount of time. We've discussed spells, which can certainly help when we can't safely reach Grimm, but what about nails? Enter Nail Arts. For this fight, the Nail Arts Great Slash and Dash Slash are fantastic. Both Nail Arts provide 2.5 times our own nails damage. Great Slash has good range to keep us safe, especially during the Dash Uppercut. Dash Slash has fantastic range and can be used to great effect during a Fire Bat's attack and just after a Cloak Spikes attack. Equip the charm Nailmaster's Glory to make Nail Arts as quick as possible to use. As I stated earlier, I didn't find Quick Slash as useful for Grimm, primarily because there aren't too many safe opportunities when we get to mash that attack button. However, I think Unbreakable/Fragile Strength is fantastic because the charm empowers what few nail strikes we're able to land. The minion build is also really good against Grimm because the minions can damage Grimm when he's doing a pufferfish attack. A full minion build is Glowing Womb, Weaver Song, Defender's Crest, Sprint Master, and Grub Song. The minion build worked way better than I expected it to when I was trying it out. It's understandable if you're getting hit by Grimm, and if you'd like to be able to survive more hits, any of the health boosting charms are useful. Unbreakable/Fragile Heart, Lifeblood Core, Lifeblood Heart, and Joni's Blessing. One note, we cannot equip all of these charms at the same time without overcharming, which means we would be taking double damage. I may have had the Shade Cloak when I fought Grimm, but I didn't really use it, as you can see. The Shade Cloak is located at the bottom right of the Abyss. It is an incredibly useful movement ability. We can use the Shade Cloak to negate most of Grimm's attacks in some way, and it allows us to be much more efficient when moving around the arena. If you want to turn this incredible defensive ability into an offensive one, equip the charm Sharp Shadow. It increases our Shadow Dash distance, and now our Shadow Dashes do our nails damage as well. Adding the charm Dash Master increases the damage to 1.5 times our nail damage. Please see my Soul Master video for a brief explanation about general playstyles, and see the link in the description for a great video about charm combinations. To Grimm, everything we've done up to this point, and will continue to do, is all about the ritual. But he's also not above hamming it up for the crowd. He does have quite the flourish. And of course, there's even the adoring crowd he summons to watch our dance. And once we finish this first dance, Grimm rewards us with a stronger Grimm child and another charm notch, bringing our maximum charm notch total to 11. He's also told us to go back out into Hollow Nest and collect even more flames to feed Grimm child. But more on that in the next guide. What even is the Grimm Troupe and why are they here? How does Grimm child fit into all of this? What the heck is this ritual Grimm keeps yammering on about? Every kingdom comes to an end eventually, and when a kingdom is coming to its end, the Grimm Troupe can be called there to clean up. The Grimm Troupe collects a lingering essence from all of the dead of a fallen, or falling, kingdom to make room for whatever kingdom comes next. Essentially, if the Grimm Troupe is hanging out in your neighborhood, it's probably best to either run away or buy up all the land because it's about to become a seller's market. And we're the ones who called them to Hollow Nest. When we struck that lantern, it rang out across the Nightmare Realm and drew the Grimm Troupe to us. Unfortunately, it also wrapped us up in the ritual, essentially binding us to Grimm child and Grimm himself until the ritual is complete. It seems the way this ritual works is through the Grimmkins collecting the flames from the dead, cleansing Hollow Nest in a sense, and feeding those flames to Grimm child. What exactly all of this flame is supposed to truly do to Grimm child will be discussed in the next guide. That's it for our boss discussion about Troupe Master Grimm. Thank you for joining me today, noobs. Stay tuned for future Hollow Knight boss videos. If you have any thoughts about Troupe Master Grimm, and we're not talking about NKG here, either about the fight or about him as a part of the world of Hollow Knight, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I am the Perpetual Noob, and I'll see you all next time.